Thank you so much for being here and welcome to the Corporate Deep Dive. I'm Lindsay Dara and I lead corporate product strategy here at D2L. I work closely with organizations like yours every day, bringing your voices into product strategy and turning complex learning challenges into practical, scalable solutions. This year, we wanted to do this a little differently than your typical product presentation. We want to talk about what it actually takes to make learning work in your organization. When your teams are small, their expectations are growing, and the business just keeps on moving faster. So today, I've invited some amazing colleagues to join me in a conversation. They're thought leaders and technical experts in corporate and professional learning, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Sandy Resendiz. I'm the head of corporate learning and development at D2L. And my background is that I'm a three-time chief learning officer and talent officer in corporations, and it includes over 25 years in learning and development at large Fortune 100 companies. I've worked in corporate learning and development my entire career, so I truly understand the challenges and opportunities that come with working on employee development. My role at D2L is to provide thought leadership around all things corporate learning and development. I also work closely with our clients to maximize their learning strategies and find opportunities within their technology stack to drive efficiency and optimize their learning solutions. I'll turn it over to Bill.
Thanks, Sandy. Hi, I'm Bill Sheehan. I'm a global head of association strategy here at D2L. I've been with D2L about 2.5 years, but I've been in the association nonprofit space for more than 30 years. Half of that time, I've served as an association executive, serving in such roles as executive director, chief operating officer, and vice president level. And then I've dealt with just about every aspect of running a nonprofit or an association. And then the other half of my career, I've really spent on the association solution providers, companies like D2L that provide services to associations. What I do here, me and my team do here at D2L, is we kind of go beyond the technology solution. So we focus more, not so much on the content as we do about the context. So our focus is really on improving member and volunteer engagement, simplifying learning for a diverse audience that many associations have, creating scalable, mission-focused learning ecosystems. And all throughout that, what we look for is ways to monetize this content and really help drive non-dues revenue. So think about us really getting more in the context of the learning ecosystem. And that's what we do here at D2L. And with that, I'll turn it over to Courtney.
Thank you, Bill. Hello, I'm Courtney Wells. I am a senior solutions engineer here at D2L. I've been here about 4 years. I currently work to help find bright space solutions to help best meet your workflows and everyday learning scenarios for new corporate employee training customers, as well as some existing ones. And my background is all in corporate training and instructional design. So happy to be here. Thanks. I'll pass it over to Katerina.
Hi everyone, my name is Katerina Raznatovic. I'm a solutions engineer and I work very closely with Courtney on the same team. Specifically, I've been at D2L for 3 years now and I focus on supporting training organizations and associations.
Thanks so much, Katerina. Welcome, everybody. I love this because each of you see the space from a slightly different angle, but the themes that emerge are remarkably consistent, right? When we talk to learning teams across associations, across training organizations, employee training, government, the story is remarkably consistent. What we hear over and over again is that we don't have enough people. Learning expectations are getting more complex every year, and leadership wants to see results fast. This is what we're hearing from you. And honestly, we see you. This session is not just about throwing more tools and features at you or jumping on the latest trends. The real questions we're focused on today is how do we help build learning that actually keeps up with the business? So today we're going to be talking through 4 questions we hear from teams like yours. First, where is the future of adult learning headed? Next, how do we move faster? Then we're going to get into how do we scale learning? And then really ultimately, how do we prove that bottom line impact that leaders are looking for? And I'm going to start with a question for Sandy related to the future of learning. So, Sandy, you've spent a lot of time out with learning leaders in the industry. What are some important things that you're hearing from them?
Yeah, I do spend a lot of time with learning leaders across many different kinds of companies and across many different industries. But there are a few themes I hear over and over again. So first, it's doing more with less. There's a growing focus on finding ways that technology can help them be more efficient and more impactful. Another area I hear a lot about is AI and its impact on the workforce and on the learning teams themselves. We've actually published an entire white paper about AI's impact, which is available on our website. And lastly, it's the same focus we've always had, which is building skills. And as the hybrid work environment continues to grow, there are less times to formally practice and apply the skills that are being shared within that learning context. And we've, used typically to rely on in-classroom role plays to do some of that. And that's more challenging in virtual environments. So I know that Courtney has some interesting tools to share that will help to address that. So I'll hand it over to Courtney.
Great. Yes, thanks, Sandy. Yes, to your point of using AI to kind of learn by doing, we do have a tool coming up here that I think will be really helpful for just that. Many of us know and love Bongo video assignments. You may use them today. They're really engaging. They have this great interactive approach to assessing real world skills. So today I'm very excited to introduce Bongo Role Play, which is our new AI-powered video assignment. So what this tool is going to do is bring real-world skill validation into Brightspace by enabling learners to practice live AI-driven conversations. So think coaching discussions, sales pitches, customer interactions, any difficult leadership scenarios. And the learners will be able to receive instant objective feedback on their conversation skills. So to demonstrate how this works, I've actually pre-recorded a brief role play example where the learner, me, acts as a leader providing some performance feedback to an employee during a difficult conversation. So let me show you how this works.
Hi there. Thanks for meeting with me today. I know my performance hasn't been what it should be lately, and I guess I'm feeling a bit unsure about it all. What's on your mind?
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. I'm happy to have this meeting today. I too have noticed your performance has changed recently. You're missing some deadlines. You seem a bit overwhelmed. I just wanted to understand what's going on with you and how I could support you right now.
I appreciate you bringing this up. I guess I've just been feeling a bit overwhelmed by everything on my plate lately. It's been hard to keep track of all my tasks and deadlines. I didn't think it would show as much as it has. What specific deadlines are you concerned about?
So I'll stop there for now. But as you can see during the activity, the AI is responding dynamically. So it's kind of that natural back and forth conversation, creating this authentic practice experience without relying on any kind of fixed script. So just like with other video assignments, I want to highlight that this one will allow for unlimited practice opportunities so learners can improve over time. They'll get that instant feedback and scoring aligned to learning objectives. And there's going to be that reduced manual evaluation for coaches, managers, and facilitators. So it's just as simple to build. If I can quickly show you that piece, all you have to do is fill out 4 prompts. So give some description about who you want your user or your learner to be. What's their role? Who is the AI agent and what is their role and what are their key concerns? And then lastly, you'll just give some really specific kind of conversation guidelines maybe for your learner to follow. You'll choose an agent voice. And then you have a dynamic role play ready to go. So we're really excited about the possibilities this creates for learning by doing. And it's just one of the ways that AI can help learners build and demonstrate real world skills.
This is amazing, Courtney. It's a real game changer for both learners and for learning teams. For so long, the only way to use role plays in training was in like the live classroom. So this really allows for real practice and real feedback in all kinds of learning solutions, and it's done so easily and so quickly. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, totally. Corporate learning today is just not about like knowing things anymore, right? It's about being able to do them as
Yes,
well. And that
exactly.
requires a space for these authentic types of practice, not just content consumption. So, Bill, I'm gonna toss a question to you now. So this is really applicable to employees and to all kind of corporate learners, but what are you hearing specifically from association members? What are they expecting today?
Yeah, that's a good question because I think today's association members they fundamentally changed their relationship with learning. And by that I mean they don't wake up in the morning and say, "Hey, I need a course." They wake up and say, "I have a problem I need to solve." And so whether they're looking for guidance on new regulations or trying to develop a skill, preparing for certification or navigating a challenge at work, they expect answers that are immediate, personalized, and then relevant to that specific situation. So that's why I think associations need now to start thinking beyond traditional classroom or that course model. Members are increasingly expect learning to meet them where they are, whether that's a 5 minute video, an AI powered recommendation, a peer discussion amongst like minded individuals in their industry, or micro learning module, or a webinar, or a full certification pathway. That's what they're looking for. So the expectation today is not simply access to information, information's everywhere. What members value is trusted guidance, curated experience, learning experiences that help them do their jobs better. It's really designed to focus more on advancing their careers and solving real world problems in the moment and in the time that they really need that help. And so that's really important, really, really meeting members where they are. And Kat, I think with the new trend, some of this disruption of AI and in the marketplace now, and all the technologies available to associations, it's really looking at now how do we meet members where they are? How do we use AI as a learning partner rather than a shortcut? And I think, Kat, you're going to kind of jump in and kind of show how D2L is really examining that next level of learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Bill. So I'm really excited to share with you Lumi Coach. Lumi Coach is an AI-powered companion that helps all learners get that personalized explanation, guidance, and support directly within their course. Today, we know that learners are busy, they're on the go, they want to get access to relevant course information quickly. Instead of searching through the course material, I'm able to easily ask a question right here using Lumi Coach and get that supported personalized guidance. So I can go ahead and ask a quick question like explain the key concepts or test me. And what Lumi will do is it will give me the information right when I need it. This allows me to be able to access key information in a timely manner and be able to balance my other responsibilities. So here we go. Lumi Coach has now given me key concepts to focus on, additional important information I need to access in the course. I can even ask it to test me, quiz me with multiple choice questions, drag the words true and false to really apply that active recall to make sure what I'm learning is also making sense and that I'm retaining it along the way. So beyond answering questions for a single course, Lumi Coach can support learners across multiple courses and learning experiences, and administrators can extend its knowledge by indexing approved external resources as well to get a richer learning experience. Lumi Coach meets learners where they're at, allowing them to have trusted guidance to help them do their jobs better and solve real-world problems. Lindsay, back to you.
Thanks, Kat. That was really great. So we've seen Lumi Coach and we've seen Bongo role play. We've seen that the future of learning is more dynamic, more personalized, more embedded into the flow of learning. But the next, once we have this kind of authentic, engaging learning experiences, the next challenge becomes pretty clear. And that's the next question that we're going to focus on here. And that's how do we actually start to move faster? How do we keep up because most teams aren't starting from scratch. You're already managing content, you're managing stakeholders, you're managing constant change. So let's talk about that reality for a second. How do we move faster without burning out our teams? And I'm going to pass it to Sandy again. Sandy, what do you find teams in your experience are spending just too much time on today?
Yeah, some of the areas that I see learning teams spending a lot of time on are what I would call or really consider non-value added activities. We hire these incredibly talented people, and then we ask them to do these incredibly mundane administrative tasks. And I have an example. I worked with a team of instructional designers, very talented people, who would spend about 40 to 60 hours each quarter simply updating the content in their programs due to a small product or process change. So think about it, that's over a month of people time every year doing just these sort of administrative tasks. And that includes the extensive, manual back and forth emails and document handoffs between subject matter experts and the instructional designers. That doesn't seem to be a great use of time for high value and expensive people resources. So, when I think about it, Courtney, how do we reduce the amount of time it takes to create and maintain learning in that space?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Sandy. And as someone who used to work in the corporate instructional design space, I know this pain
Mhm.
very well. And
Yeah.
yes, and my answer for this is these days it's create space. I love create space, and I love to share what it means for people in the corporate space, especially because I know we're often working with these small but mighty teams. And oftentimes there are people that are not on our learning team, right? We're working with subject matter experts across different departments that you might pull in to help assist with content. So Create Space gives everyone their own kind of centralized hub for creating, managing, and collaborating on any kind of learning objects or learning assets. So we've built Create Space here with a really strong focus on sharing, control of the creation and management of these resources, as well as deployment, and something we've been asking for and excited to have, some version control. So each person that has this kind of ability to create within Brightspace will have their own dedicated space outside of the courses that, I'm talking instructional designers, subject matter experts, whoever. They get their space like this. They can see all of the courses that, they've recently built out or contributed to. They can see any of the recent content that they've worked on, or even full modules that they've helped to build out. And they can create directly from here. So no need to hop around to different courses. And this is my favorite part. They can make their updates to their course material here as well. And those updates will share out dynamically. And when I say dynamically, I mean I can update here, and anywhere that piece of content is that I've updated, it's going to trickle down, right? That update's going to trickle down to all of the instances that piece of content exists in. So think about a coaching model that you have that exists across multiple courses. If you create and update it in Create Space, those updates are going to go ahead and trickle down to all of those places where that coaching model exists. So that's one update instead of, however many you would need to make before Create Space. So we love that. Outside of this dashboard, we also have this libraries tab, and this is all of my content that's organized really nicely for me. So here I've got my content. I've got powerful search capability, different filters here. I can create folders, as you've seen. I've done a couple here, and I can organize my assets into kind of like topics. So again, I can create maybe a little folder for a little, create space collab. And I might want to add Sandy in here to help me work through some things as we're getting ready to present, right? Instead of the two of us now having to go back and forth over email or maybe over SharePoint sites, we reduce that duplication and we reduce that back and forth. The last thing I want to show you is, my favorite thing. I've already talked about it, but I just want to show you the proof is in the pudding here, right? We can manage our versions here. It's so exciting. So I can see all of the different versions. I can restore those. I can preview those. Let me kind of show you a little bit of that. Oops, sorry, closing out of things. I can preview those, I can edit those. This is all happening from one place. So all of this to say that Create Space is all about working effectively. I hope you like that
See,
answer. Yeah.
I love it. And that is exactly what teams and business people need. It makes it all so much easier to update and maintain content. And I love what you said about version control because that is always an issue, especially as you're working with complex documents. So, Bill, I know what this means in the employee training space, but what do you think this means for associations?
Yeah, I think for associations, I think CreateSpace is much more than content creation. I really think it's about enabling organizations to really organize and scale expertise. Um, Most associations operate with relatively small teams, but they do have a broad network that they can rely on, such as subject matter experts and volunteer leaders, committee members, certification boards, instructors. And staff from different departments really need to focus and create and maintain learning content from all of those sources that are coming into the organization can be very, very difficult. Historically, that process has been fragmented. Content lives everywhere in associations. Think about it: email chains, SharePoint folders, desktops. There's just multiple versions of the same document all around. And before long, what's happening is the staff is spending more time looking for and managing content as they are actually creating value for their members. And so that's what I'm pretty excited about with CreateSpace is that it does create a centralized knowledge and collaboration hub where instructional designers and all those education teams and the certification staff and volunteer subject matter experts, all these folks can work together in a much more structured and incredibly efficient way. And so content can be created once. It can be shared across multiple courses, certifications, and learning pathways. And so it's really a way to update from a single source of truth, which I think is going to be a blessing for the association staff. And also for associations, what's especially important is in the association space, things are constantly changing. Regulations change, best practices for safety, they evolve. Certification requirements are changing, and they're frequently needed updating. So instead of updating the same content in 5 or 10 different places, teams can now make a single update and know and trust that it's reflected everywhere that content is being used. So ultimately, I really see CreateSpace really helping associations do three things: improve collaboration, reduce that duplication of effort, and accelerate the speed at which expertise is transformed into member value. And so I think as we go through this, as we look at that too, it's once we have once you have all this content exist, and how do we adapt it in different audiences without kind of rebuild everything and reduplicate everything? It really means we can move faster. And I think, Kat, we're going to kind of look at a way where what we can do, how D2L here is really looking at ways that once content exists, how do we adapt it in different audience without rebuilding it?
Absolutely, Bill. So, in terms of thinking about existing content that you might already have, you might be looking to update what you have or overall increase organizational efficiencies to create content faster. And that's where Lumi Remix truly shines. So what you'll notice here is I'm building a page. I have an existing topic here in place with a template, and now I have these little sparkles here. This allows me to take some existing content that I already have or build new content really quickly and efficiently using our AI-powered tool. I'm able to provide the opportunity to have more increased or decreased text complexity. I'm able to provide custom instructions, my personal favorite. This can be in terms of audience, tone, topic, even language translation. And it really allows me to also apply those Creator Plus elements that a lot of you are already familiar with to create really engaging learning experiences beyond just static documents and PowerPoints. And so with these custom instructions applied, I'll just go ahead and copy and paste some to show you. I'm able to add my instructions and hit the generate button. And then within a few seconds, we'll be able to see the results. It will look something like this. So Lumi Remix will help teams scale content creation and update content without needing to increase workload. Now, in a matter of seconds, I have revamped this entire content topic with those custom instructions, with some reflections, and even those Creator Plus elements. Now, I can also even apply a layer of translation for those teams that are working globally. Think about your localization resources. Now with Lumi Remix, I'm able to even ask Lumi to translate a page for me. In this example, it's French. And I'm able to get that immediate translation with a matter of seconds there as well. This enables your subject matter experts to contribute faster while keeping content accurate and up to date.
That's great, Kat. I love the translation, especially as some of our clients are scaling globally. Also for employee training, this is really important because often we want to modify one piece of content for different internal audiences as well. So maybe I want to modify it for senior management, or maybe I want to modify it for the marketing team or other finance teams that we have. So the content is relevant to them. So CreateSpace and D2L Lumi Remix that you just showed, Kat, both of them are all about just creating once, then modifying and sharing everywhere. Now we've made it easier for those small teams like you to create and adapt the content. But once we have all this beautiful content created, once we have people that have started to take it, we really want to talk about starting to scale that content. So it comes to our next question that we have here, which is how do we scale that learning? I want to talk about what happens when we need to get that content in front of the right people at the right time at scale. That's what really matters. So I want to talk about what happens when your learning programs start to grow. Bill, I'm going to pass it to you first this time. With associations and training organizations that are really trying to, increase their non-dues revenue by selling content or providing that to the members, or maybe that's their business model is, providing learning. How do we efficiently deliver learning to thousands or even tens of thousands of learners?
Yeah, and that's the old saying that might be a wonderful problem to have. But I do think one of the biggest challenges associations face as learning programs scale is that success itself creates its own complexities. And so initially, the goal is often to launch a few courses or webinars or certification programs. But as participation grows, associations quickly find themselves trying to manage hundreds of pieces of content, multiple audiences, different learning paths, certification requirements, volunteer, subject matter experts, and increasing all these expectations for personalization. So the challenge is no longer simply delivering learning, it's really delivering the right learning to the right member at the right time. And at the same time, learning has become much more than a member benefit. It's really becoming more of a strategy. So for many associations, it's one of the most important drivers of non-dues revenue. It also drives member engagement, and it also drives long-term retention. And so the organizations that are going to see the greatest success, I believe, are those that move beyond a catalog of courses and begin thinking about learning as more of a continuous member journey. So in the association space, we always wanted to create members for life. And what D2L's motto is, we want to create customers for life. So we want to be part of that continuous member journey. But the question is not, how do we deliver training to thousands of learners? The question really is, how do we create meaningful learning experiences that keep those thousands of members engaged, progressing, and coming back for more? In other words, how do we create an environment they don't want to leave? And that's where D2L really comes in and helps build out those programs. But that requires scale, certainly, but it also requires personalization, automation, and the ability to connect learning to personal goals, the certifications, the career development, and member value. So when associations get that right, learning stops being an event and becomes more of an ongoing relationship with the member. And so that's really where I start to see the power that we can bring together within this learning to do that. So that's where I feel that associations are really going to look to vendors such as D2L to help them scale consistently and really improve that member journey.
So with that, Kat, how do we make it easier for learners to find the right content when they're, maybe on a member's or an association's website or a training organization's website? How do we make it easier, just like what Bill said, to kind of find that, to keep them engaged, keep them coming back?
Yeah, so a lot of you are already familiar with our e-commerce tool Course Merchant, which is a self-serve catalog that allows learners to browse and purchase courses. And here is a quick screenshot. So what you'll notice here is that it is a e-commerce catalog that can be embedded on a website, and it allows learners to browse courses that support their interests, continuing education courses, or professional development courses. And it really allows them to be able to quickly access the courses and products that they're most interested in participating in. Now, with the new Course Merchant update, I'm really excited to announce there are three new tabs to support recommendations, including featured, curated by administrators. This is where you can give your team full control over what gets highlighted, and learners will see that front and center of the catalog. New, which automatically showcases the latest content based on predefined rules, and my personal favorite, trending. This is going to surface courses that are popular using some learner engagement and purchase activity based on intelligent logic. We are also extending and improving upon optional webhooks to strengthen integration with your existing ecosystems, connecting Course Merchant to your system of record like a CRM or AMS or BI tool to give you better insights into what learners are purchasing. And this is just the beginning for Course Merchant. Later this year, we're improving waitlist functionality and continue to invest in a more advanced recommendation so organizations can deliver more relevant learning experiences and connect learners to the content that's most meaningful to them.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I'd like to add to that too. I think some of the things you're seeing here too is for associations. I really believe this can really help increase non-dues revenue by driving greater visibility because when members can find what they're looking for and they see the value, they're much more interested in or much more willing to pay for that information because they're finding it easy. You're showing them that you know them. In other words, this is the type of information that can really help you advance in your career. And one of the nice thing about this is surveys are really starting to show that the three things that associate members join association for are professional development, certification, and continuing education. And that's also, surveys are showing those are also the top three things members will pay for beyond their dues. But they have to be able to find that. If not, they're going to go somewhere else to find that. So the more personalized that you can make that member experience and improve content discovery, that's going to be only a boon for increased engagement as well as non-dues revenue. So with that, Lizzie, I just wanted to add that thought in there because I think that's what associations really got to start thinking about is how best to monetize this content and how can they easily find it.
Absolutely. It's so exciting. There's some great enhancements in there that I think our associations will really, really love. So those course merchant enhancements are good for, recommending content and to show you that you know me, like what you said, Bill. But Sandy, I want to pass it to you because when we do internal training, when we're doing employee training or corporate learning within the business, we also need to be able to scale that. So what do you hear organizations asking for when it comes to administration of workforce management? So how do we get the people into the right courses or how do we automate that kind of stuff? What are they asking for there?
Yeah, yeah. As I said earlier, as teams get smaller and resources are even more precious, there's so much conversation about how to lessen repetitive and administrative tasks. Um, Employees are constantly changing roles, they're changing departments, they're changing managers, and the requirements for what they need to learn are always shifting and changing. So often, like the LMS administrators or the learning leaders have to spend a lot of time simply enrolling and unenrolling groups of employees in a single course. So the opportunity to like auto enroll into a course would save sometimes hours of administrative work. And also, we want our managers to manage their teams, not spend time trying to determine who needs what. But managers want to know what's happening with their teams. So I think anything that can help them do that is so important. Courtney, where do you see the biggest opportunities to reduce manual work and scaling efficiency. What does that all look like in practice?
It's a good question because we have looked at ways to reduce effort across, content and course management today. But looking at that people side of the equation, I know is super important to our customers. And I think that from what I've seen, true efficiency comes from being able to manage both your workforce and their learning programs all in one place. And we do have this new suite of compliance capabilities that's coming later this year, and that's what it's designed to do. So let me share with you a little bit of what that looks like. All right. Now, we're all used to compliance training, and this could work for lots of training, but I'm thinking about compliance training being reoccurring, right? And that's where this really helps. So the challenge isn't always like the one launch, it's that year after year kind of training and managing it as teams grow and new people join and responsibilities change. So these kinds of capabilities that we've built in are here to simplify that process and make ongoing training much easier to manage. So I'll show you a little bit how I'll walk you through this. So right now we're on what we're calling the people page. Here, managers can see their own teams, administrators can see multiple teams. They can get this real-time view of assigned learning, right? So I can take a look at a learner, click on what they've got going on here. So they're able to kind of see what's currently in progress, what's at risk, what's completed. Makes it super easy to understand what learners are working toward and maybe where some attention's needed. I can also do some like filtering by learner progress here, which helps my view quite a bit. And for the first time, I can even see like my employee attributes, so not just names and progress, but job titles, emails, all these other things that could be really important for managers and administrators. Rather than spending time kind of chasing that information, I can proactively find it myself. I can identify learning gaps. All of this is going to be a lot easier for me. And then, of course, I can do some, like assigning of learning, as you can see here. So kind of one-off assignment of learning. Maybe I'm in a coaching conversation. I want to throw out some training that's going to help somebody. I can absolutely do that bit. But I think the real power in this tool comes from this learning groups tool that's part of this. So I'm going to switch over to that tab here. So with learning groups, I've created a couple here, but I can create some dynamic learner groups. So this is going to be based on what we call rules. And enrollment rules could be anything that you see here, right? It's kind of enrollment rules based upon what we call attributes. So it could be anyone in this learning group has a specific job title of, in this case, maybe a human markets manager, something like that. Or it could be a hire date, or I could add rules and kind of stack these things up. And once these groups are configured, call it a learning group, why not? I can save and manage that guy. You can assign some learning out and then let the system do some work. Oh, I already have that name in there. So I'm going to go ahead and save and manage this learning group from here. I'm going to get out of here. And then I can assign this group some training, right? So I already have a member in here. I can assign out any of the learning that I have within my catalog. Maybe I want them to have a couple of these courses. And then I can go on to what we call scheduling. So outside of choosing the courses I want to assign, I can schedule things or assign things like start dates. I can set enrollment rules. Do I want this to automatically re-enroll every year? So thinking about that compliance training, this is super handy. I can add, like I said, due dates here. I can set up some specifics around when we enroll new members. All of this is going to kind of help reduce any kind of redundancy and improve that learner experience. And then once I save this, that enrollment just begins automatically. So the process continues in whatever cadence I've defined here, right? Whether that's like annual, quarterly, any other kind of recurring schedule, that's going to happen. There's no need to recreate this process every time. It's kind of like a set it and forget it. So a lot of fun to be had here and a lot of efficiency and time saved. But on the other side of this, we do have for our learners this new and improved My Courses widget, which I think is also going to be something that's going to save them some time. So Firstly, what I want you to notice here is, it may look similar. We see our course titles here, but instead of organizing courses by like a department or a program or however you have them organized now, they're organized by active and completed training. So really straightforward from the jump, makes it easier for me as a learner to understand what requires my attention. As a learner, I can also filter my courses, search, I can download a transcript, which contains all my complete record of all of my learning history. And then one of my favorite updates is that courses are actually here displayed based upon due date. So it's kind of prioritizing my learning for me and like telling me where my attention needs to go first. Super valuable for organizations that are managing compliance and like mandatory training requirements, getting that stuff in front of their learners right away. And another improvement that we're all really excited about is this inclusion of this estimated time to complete a course. So you'll see it in like the bottom right-hand corner of this course tile. One piece of feedback we consistently hear is that learners, they want this kind of better understanding of the time commitment that a learning is going to give them. And understandably so, like busy schedules, we all have them. So by surfacing this information up front, we're finding that we hope that learners can more easily fit that training into those busy schedules. So end of the day, front end, back end, all of these enhancements are designed to make recurring learning feel lighter, more automated, and much easier to manage for both administrators and their learners.
Yeah, thank you. And I love
Yeah.
that this feature easily presents requirements in the order that they're due. So, a busy employee can focus on immediate priorities and get what needs to happen done. And it also truly helps the managers manage. So, I mean, for me, this is a huge win. Bill, what stands out for you in this space?
Yeah, what was that last one? I love that. The one feature that really stood out to me, particularly for associations, is that estimated time to complete. Now, at first glance, I know that seems like a small enhancement, but it really addresses a very real challenge that members are facing today, and that's time. Association members are, I mean, they got to balance careers, family, and volunteer responsibilities and professional development. So increasingly, what they're trying to do is they're making decisions now about learning based not only on the value of that content, but really where does it fit in their schedule. And so I love that feature. I just think by clearly communicating the expected time commitment up front, the associations can help their members make more informed decisions. In other words, show me you know me. I know you're busy. How can we help? This is the time you're going to have to dedicate to this. So they may not have time for a 90-minute course today, but they can certainly engage in, say, a 15 or 20-minute micro learning module. So I just think that's phenomenal because it really helps set expectations. And what happens is it's reducing that friction between a member and association relationship there. So, and it creates a much more learner-centric experience, which is what your members are looking for. So when members know what they're committing to, they're more likely to start, they're more likely to complete, and it's really much more transparent. So it's really easier to fit into their professional lives. And so, Lindsay, I just think, to me, I know it sounds like a small enhancement, man, I'm telling you, this will resonate with your members, that they know exactly what their time commitment is going to be when they begin their member learning journeys.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes it's the smallest little enhancements that have the biggest impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So once we've done all this, so I want to get back to our questions. We have one last question that we're going to talk about today, and that's about scaling. We just talked about scaling. We're going to talk about proving impact, because once we've scaled, once we're reaching those thousands of learners with these little enhancements, making sure that they're moving through and getting recommendations in course margin, making sure we're providing managers and administrators with automated re-enrollments for that employee training, that compliance suite that Courtney showed. Once we've scaled that and we've started increasing engagement, there's always that last question. Is it working? How do we know it's working? How do we prove that bottom line impact? Because at the end of the day, leaders aren't just acting about activity or completion anymore. That's not the ask. They're asking about impact. What impact is this learning experience having on our organization? So let's spend just a few minutes on how organizations are closing that gap, moving from reporting to decision making. So, Bill, how are associations thinking about value and impact today?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and I could go on for days, and I won't, I promise. But information's everywhere, right? And then the value then comes from those outcomes. And so I think learning organizations like associations, they really need to move beyond that old thinking of clicks and completions and attendance, and really start demonstrating how learning changes behavior. Does it improve your performance? Does it improve your personal career? Does it help you advance, your organizational goals and the like? So, when you connect learning to real business outcomes, not just clicks and how they're going through
Mm.
the LMS, then learning is no longer viewed as a cost center for associations. It really becomes a strategic driver of growth, engagement, and impact. And so that's where I really feel that it's going to be driven by outcomes and the impact it's having on your members' personal career. So let's try and change the word, are we relevant to our members, to are we having a positive impact on our members and their personal career? So that's where I'm just on a soapbox where I think that's what associations got to start thinking about.
That's great. So we're going to shift in associations from just seeing what's relevant to what's having the biggest impact. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, Sandy, that's for associations and training orgs. But what are the executives you are talking to? What are they asking for? Say today that they weren't asking for 5 years ago.
Well, as you said a little earlier, the days of simply sharing the number of employees who completed a program or the amount of time it took them is over. And then, frankly, I was never really convinced that those numbers were all that relevant anyway. But now, because we have so much focus on data and so much ability to process data, executives are not interested in the consumption of learning interventions. They're interested truly in the impact of those programs. So, how have those programs been able to solve business problems? How have they been able to contribute to the business results in a meaningful way? So, yes, it's important to know that our employees understand and that they've learned the content. So things like quizzes and assessments are still important to be sure to, really be sure that the learning has occurred. But it's equally important to know that the learning has contributed to the organization. It helps the learning team truly demonstrate their value to the organization, and it can help with resource and budget allocations down the road. So if you can truly say, we did this intervention, using this learning program, and we were able to produce this X amount in revenue production, in quality improvement, in lower call handling time. Those are the kinds of things that organizations are looking for to improve upon. So, truly understanding the impact of the learning on the business results.
Yeah, that's great. So, Courtney, I know you have one last thing to show, and it's related to what Sandy and Bill were just talking about. It's related to how we help organizations kind of move from reporting on that consumption to more decision making and impact. So, questions like how do we connect learning activities to business outcomes? So, I know you have one more thing that you're going to chat us through today.
Yeah, I just want to give a little sneak peek, some insight into some really exciting new dashboards that we've built out. So this is all built out with Analytics Builder. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Analytics Builder, this is Brightspace's flexible reporting layer, right? It's kind of like our business intelligence tool. It's integrated into the learning management system already. So it's letting you go beyond those Brightspace data sets, beyond those pre-built kind of insights dashboards. And it gives you the ability to explore and customize your own reporting. So thinking about your own business outcomes and your own success metrics, we're allowing you to act on your data at a more deeper, more granular level with these. So while insights dashboards, as an example, provide some like out of the box visibility into key metrics, these Analytics Builder essential dashboards are going to take it a step further. So this is a new offering from our learning analytics team. For those of you who haven't worked with them before, they're lovely. They have built this set of ready to deploy dashboards in Analytics Builder for you. So you don't need to design anything, right? Designing reports, if you haven't done it before, it can seem kind of like, where do I begin? These analytics builder essentials are meant to help you with that fielding. They're going to provide a structured on-ramp into the analytics builder program with these three specific dashboards that are going to look at these things. So I want to speak to number one. We're going to look at compliance and completion. So we're going to have a dashboard here that's set up to help you monitor course completion rates, identify specific teams of training that need support, and even help you quickly follow up with learners that might need some intervention. So it's pretty actionable. That second one there, learning journey and engagement, this is going to help you to see how your learners are progressing through their training. Where are they getting stuck? Where do they re-engage after some inactivity? And what does that tell you about your own course creation and design? So you can really iterate as an organization on how you're building your learning. And then lastly, training effectiveness and impact. This is a big one for us, helping you to measure training outcomes. And we can do this through, of course, like assessments or pass rates or completion time, right? But you can also kind of customize these things as you get used to them and identify opportunities for your own kind of metrics in here for improvement. And the last thing I want to say about these, right, this is just kind of a sneak peek of what these could look like. But what you're going to get alongside this is some dashboard usage documentation. So you're going to be fully supported here. You'll get some of those success metric definitions. And lastly, you're going to have this nice D2L project manager support. They'll schedule kickoff meetings with you, check-in sessions. So you're not alone with this data. You're actually going to have, a little bit of a team behind you to help you through it. So we're really excited about this offering, and I hope you are too.
That's great. So what we heard from Sandy and Bill were that shift from reporting on learning to actually using data to drive decisions. And I love how these dashboards can help us focus on not just what happened, but where to focus, what to improve, how learning is impacting the business in a meaningful way. All right. So we've covered a lot. I want to bring us back to some key takeaways. I want to do a really quick lightning round, a sentence or two to each of you, maybe in the order that we introduced ourselves. The question I'm going to ask you all is, if there is one thing you'd want this audience to walk away and remember, what would it be?
Okay, I'll start. So to prepare, for the future of learning, organizations need to start investing in learning by doing and focusing on the business impacts, not just content design and consumption. Important to have good content design and consumption, but critical that the impact is measured and talked about. I'll pop it over to Bill.
That's great. Yeah, as I said earlier, remember, there's three things that members are joining associations for. It's professional development, it's certification, it's continuing education. And really what associations are now providing is value, but now you got to measure the impact. And when you have value plus impact, that's going to start creating retention. And you're going to be able to grow much faster because the members are doing that. So think value and impact as an association and lead with learning.
Yeah, I'll take this next one. I think for me, the biggest opportunity I see is just automation. The biggest opportunity is going to be this ability to move faster. Where can you leverage existing Brightspace tools, some of these new ones we've shown you today, to remove that manual work so that you can focus on your learning strategy?
Thank you. And one thing I'd like for you all to take away is the key to scaling learning successfully is personalization, not a one-size-fits-all learning experience. Every learner brings different roles, backgrounds, skill levels, and goals, so providing tailored guidance and resources helps both your members and employees stay engaged and achieve better outcomes.
I love that. Thank you all. All of those ideas are really about how we move forward and go back to those questions that we talked about. What is the future of learning? How do we move faster? How do we scale? How do we prove impact? And it really makes me think of this year's Fusion theme, Beyond the Horizon. It's not just about what's coming next. It's about what you can do to start doing things differently today, in this moment, right now. Because the future of learning isn't something we wait for. It's something that we can build together. So I want to thank you all for coming today. I'm going to do one last screen share, and I'm going to share Sandy's white paper, The Future of Work and Learning, the Impact of AI. Please use the QR code and scan it to learn more. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.